Three, two, one, and we're live.
Episode 2 of the Star Wars podcast. Fode and Bede talk Star Wars.
That's absolutely right. And
That's not a totally official name yet, but it might stick. It might stick. So this is episode 2. Jason, how do you feel?
I feel unprepared, but
Okay.
but I feel ready at the same time. Like I feel ready to kind of just spitball it
That's
as good as I
probably
can.
a way to go. Right?
It's funny. I brought notes, but I didn't bring notes to the last one, and I didn't feel unprepared for that one. I brought notes to this one, and I feel unprepared because of the topic, which is
You have a lot of notes.
it's not that much.
It looks like a plethora of notes.
So what's our topic?
So our topic is our top 5 stories we want to see in live action.
It's like a live action movie or a show, or it doesn't matter really. So
It doesn't matter. These are top 5 Star Wars stories we want to see on a screen in live action, not animated.
real people.
Real people.
Okay.
And probably many CGI people too.
So
Perhaps whole characters that are CGI as long as you have something live action.
CGI. So we're including, like, in theory, like a story of the Clone Wars that you like, or a story of Rebels that you like. Anything.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, in theory. Or
And-
something totally made up that you just felt needed to be in the Star Wars universe.
Something made up. All right. I didn't make anything up, but I did kind of do a deep dive on the extended universe, which is not canon. So I guess technically, if it's not canon, then it's made up. So that's I'm just
Well,
I'm
I
gonna
guess-
lawyer my way out of that one.
Technically, it's all made up.
Okay. So
Hey, but first, how do you feel about the little tidbits of news coming out of the Star Wars novelization for Rise of Skywalker? So we've got several little reveals about the film, more context on various plot points.
right.
Some I'll give my take a little bit first, a little preview. Some I'm totally okay with, and some infuriate me.
Whole thing infuriates me, but okay.
So, have you heard about this? Have you seen this?
So we're talking about Palpatine's son not being his son through natural means, but being a clone that went rogue.
That's one, and that is spoiler alert. That is the one that infuriates me.
Okay.
So,
So, because I know that story is something you're interested in. So the reveal was that they released a book after the movie, right? Like way
Yeah,
out, like a few
yeah,
months,
I
like
think-
just recently, like a month after.
I think the book might not even totally be out in public channels yet, but like people are getting the book ahead of time, reading the book, and then getting the scoop on the extra story tidbits.
Okay. Well, all I got out of it was the big reveal about the clone. People were kind of go up in arms on Twitter about it, like really
Yeah.
frustrated, this and that. And I had a friend tweeted about it, and he's like, "Why would they do this?" And I wrote, "To break your spirit." And he goes, "My spirit is broken."
Mission accomplished.
Yeah.
So, how do you feel personally about Palpatine's son is a failed clone?
So at first, yeah, I thought it was kind of a cop out because right when they said that Palpatine had a son and had kids, everyone was worried about the Emperor boning somebody, and that was the big
The sex
the sex
ramifications.
It was the ramifications of this creepy old, like, artificially alive dude getting it on.
Yeah.
And my first argument was, well, he's the Emperor. If there's anybody alpha, he's the ultimate alpha. They should just be knocking down his door, you know?
I feel like there are some females in the galaxy that would find the power, the unlimited power,
Unlimited power.
sexy.
They all would. Every single one.
Every single one.
Yeah, just unless you're from, like, I don't know, some peaceful place. I don't know. And I imagine he would like them creepy, like not, well, the red Twi'leks, or what is that girl? So he's got a
That's
girl on the
what
side.
you would like if you were in.
Yeah, that's what I would like. So everyone was, like, speculated. I remember when all this first came out, they said that he had a wife, or he might have had a wife, and they speculated that it was his right-hand woman, right? I forget the name, but she's the very pale.
You see her in Revenge of the Sith. she's in the opera box, right?
Yeah. She's in the opera box, and she's also with him when he's chancellor, talking to the whole Senate.
Oh yeah, she's standing next to him, next to the blue guy with the staff, staff of legislature.
Is that what it is? Literally,
sounds like a good name to me.
It sounds the staff of it sounds right, but he.
That's canon now.
So everyone, everyone thought it was her, and I kind of agreed with that. And then later on, in my view, I think they copped out because maybe they thought they creeped people out too much, is what I'm thinking, and so they made it a clone.
Well, what's the time frame on how they would react to something like that? Like, you think they literally had focus groups tell them that this is too creepy?
Yeah.
And they sent the author, which I don't know the name of the author on the Star Wars novelization, they sent them focus group results, and he had to rewrite those chapters or something?
So this is Disney, but I think actually you don't even, they have unlimited money, I guess, as much as you could in a media company, but I think maybe it's just Twitter. Like, I think that's where Raylo came from, was just a bunch of people on Twitter and Tumblr, and they have their finger on the button. J.J. Abrams mentioned Mike Zero. I don't know if we talked about that last call, I guess.
Oh, that was Ryan Johnson.
Ryan Johnson mentioned Mike Zero.
Yes, yeah.
So clearly they know. They know what's up.
Yeah, they've got people lurking in the YouTube shadows and the Twitter shadows.
Which I would take that job.
That would be a good job.
I would take that job, but yeah. So
maybe if Lucasfilm is listening to us, we're submitting our formal application for that job.
Yeah, I'm doing the job already.
Yeah,
I'm here doing the job.
we got notes.
Yeah, I got notes. Yeah, we got notes, and we got this. So
Research.
Yeah.
So that was
gonna make more family friendly.
That was not the only reveal. The other reveal was kind of less outrageous, but that the body that Palpatine inhabits is a clone. That was another reveal recently from the novelization. That wasn't explicitly stated in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I had no problem with that whatsoever. Did you hear about that part?
I did. Yeah, I did hear about it. It made sense. It makes sense to me.
Basically, there's a part of the novel where Kylo Ren can tell because of the tubes that are connected to the Palpatine body.
Mm-hmm.
He can tell that it's a clone because he's seen that once before in a cloning. I think he says when he was studying the Clone Wars or something. But he can tell just from instinct and the Force that it is Palpatine's true spirit, though.
Okay.
So
which is what drew him to Exegol in the first place, right?
Yeah.
No,
because
the
he heard
holocron.
the voice.
That was the holocron. But it was the voice got him to find the holocron. I forgot. But
I don't know. But I have no problem with that. I actually enjoy that. That's a decent explanation. It's from a Legend storyline.
Okay.
Dark Empire. Cool comic book. And then the other reveal that has some people mad, I really don't care. Either way, I don't think. But the Raylo kiss, have you heard this part?
No.
The Raylo kiss, as it's described in the novel, was a kiss of gratitude.
Oh, I did hear that. Yep. It's not a romantic kiss.
Romantic.
I get. Yeah. Okay. So I thought maybe they were vaguely setting up. So the thing with the whole sequel trilogy is they kind of vaguely set a lot of things up to kind of like some dominoes that maybe the next director in the next movie would knock down, and that was my big beef with Force Awakens. It was all so open ended that it was a movie basically designed to be expanded upon in the next one with pretty much completely open ended, which
it was like a palate cleanser, basically.
Yeah, it was a setup for a new thing, which wasn't that new, but it was set up for a new trilogy, and it could seem it was kind of set up to where they knew there wasn't going to be the same director throughout the whole thing. So yeah, it was hollow, and then Rian Johnson kind of went crazy with it, and then they picked up the pieces in the end. I mean, everyone knows that. But as far as the Raylo kiss, I think they kind of didn't they just kind of earhorn that, just shove that in there, shoehorn in there, like at the end.
Yeah, I hear. I've read an article or two about the editor saying that they kind of just added that last minute. So it was definitely not something that was top of mind during production. It was just added in later.
Oh, what I forgot I was going to say. What I was saying was they kind of set it up in The Last Jedi a bit when she got like flustered when he had a shirt off, I guess, which is kind of funny.
Right, yes.
I mean, there was a lot of that movie actually had some funny moments, like the iron coming in to iron the Imperial uniform.
And it looks kind of like a ship.
And they implied it was a ship, and then it wasn't. Like there was a lot of kind of jokings in that movie, which was cool. A lot of people, actually, some people hated that. I remember watching a video, someone using that one little tidbit, that scene, as his description for the whole movie, saying how it's just this whole misleading thing. It's they're taking the whole galaxy and just making it a joke. And like he was really upset, whatever, because there's a lot of hate for Last Jedi. That's a whole industry now, like a cottage industry, to just hate that one movie.
Yeah.
Just funny.
I think some channels make a lot of money off of just hating The Last Jedi.
Oh yeah, there's whole. I could have sworn I watched a video. It was like 45 minutes about it, but I saw one video, like one of those really elegant movie review guys that talked about how they break down the symbolism of each little scene, and he broke down the crate lightsaber battle between Luke and Kylo, and it made me kind of love the movie. I bought into the hype at first. Which is stupid, and then it kind of won me back. But then I had to go back and think how I felt when I came out of the movie theater of that one, and I did like that a lot better than how I came out in A Force Awakens. I came out just annoyed.
Yeah. There's a YouTube channel, Mauler, Mauler.
Sure.
Mauler, and that guy's really good at picking apart basically any movie.
Yeah.
And like he destroys The Last Jedi, and sometimes I'm into it. I just want to hate on the movie, but like in reality, my real feelings are, I love that movie. It's not in my top 5, but Mauler, if I start listening to Mauler, I'll like love the movie, like hate pretty much every scene, because he picks that apart every scene. He's pretty good at picking apart stuff. And then other news, Max von Sydow died.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, he was the character in the beginning of Force Awakens, right at the beginning, right? And
yeah.
What other movies was he in?
I don't know.
I've seen it. He's in like in every movie.
Is he really?
Well, that's one of those actors you've seen in everything, and you don't know their name.
Yeah, well,
until they die, maybe. Unless you live in Hollywood, then you know.
I love the like secret history that he has with Kylo Ren that we don't know what it is. I guess maybe we know now because it might be in comic books and stuff. But like in that very first scene, you get the whole like this old guy knows who this bad guy is, and he knows his family history. And the bad guy doesn't like that very much, and I like that back and forth between the two of them.
Yeah.
And it's gonna play into one of my 5 wishes for live action storylines, that he's gone, because I feel like he may have shown up in one of my pitches. So,
okay.
So we want to get to it. Our list.
Yeah, let's get to it.
Okay, our list of 5 Star Wars stories we want to see in live action.
All right. So these stories are both implied and maybe already written down in comics and things like that. But so you can imply a story, like there's definitely some events that happen between episode 4 and episode 5. And what you can see in episode 5, some things happen maybe with Luke's training, which I'm kind of foreshadowing what I'm going to talk about. But you could, it's assumed that there was some training between episode 4 and episode 5 when he pulls the lightsaber out of the snow. And then
it shows progression.
And then furthermore, even more progression from 5 to 6, where he's like a full kind of fledged Jedi Master. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff in between the lines, a lot of stuff in the spaces between the movies, which is implied. So I guess we're kind of thinking filling in the blanks kind of thing.
Yeah, and you are basically the one who gets to decide what's on Disney live action slate for the next however many years. And it's really, business means nothing. You can make these movies selfishly just for your own enjoyment.
So this is
You
fan
don't-
fiction.
Yeah, you don't have to care if you're going to make money off the movie. It's just something you want to see.
God, can you imagine if it was really like that?
It would be so
what,
cool.
What we would have? We just have Dave Filoni doing everything, maybe? I don't know.
All right, so do you want to go first or you want me to go first?
Did you go first last time or did I go first?
I think you went first last time.
All right, then we'll do you.
Okay, so my first one is I'm going to go with the one that I think I don't want as much anymore after this week's news with the failed clone of being Rey's father.
Yep.
So, number 5. I wanted, and I still do, but I'm not quite sure how it's going to play out anymore, but I wanted the plight of Rey's parents. I wanted a movie or a Disney Plus series about Rey's parents, and almost one of the first thoughts that I came out of Rise of Skywalker with was, I guess the first thought was, I think I liked it. That was the first thought. Mm-hmm. And the second thought was, I want to know more about Rey's dad. Like, how is it growing up knowing the Emperor is your dad and then wanting out of that family? And what is the story behind him trying to escape the Emperor or escape the Empire? And was he trained in the Force? And so you can see how outraged I am about the fact that he's a failed Emperor clone. Mm-hmm. But I was going
Makes
with...
it lame.
Yeah, it makes it more lame, right? But I was going with that he was a biological son of Palpatine. And I almost thought, like, in the movie, you could see him kind of growing up, maybe away from court, so to speak. Like, he's not in galactic politics or anything like that. He's away from the epicenter of universe events, and he's kind of looked after by Palpatine guards or something, or royal guards.
Yeah, the red
royal guards, and maybe he's like really close to the royal guards, and they have a familial relationship, and maybe they train him a little bit. But he doesn't know who he is. He does not know that he's Palpatine's son.
That sounds familiar.
It's almost like if you watch these medieval series, like Henry VIII type series.
Like these
and
illegitimate kids
stuff. Illegitimate kids raised in like a cottage with knights around and stuff. And he doesn't know who he is, and he's being taught like things. But eventually he figures it out. And maybe it might work better as a series because you kind of need to like go further. You have a lot of things you could touch on.
I might argue against that.
Okay, we'll argue against it, but eventually he gets introduced to the idea that he's Palpatine's heir, and he's starting to dig it a little bit. But something snaps, and he gets way too deep into it, where he's appalled somehow. I have writers for that. I could pay them with my Disney money. But him and his wife is a pivotal character because she gets him to kind of realize that he should not be part of this empire.
Pulls him out of the
business,
out of the soup.
And they decide to go against Papa Palps. And then you kind of get a flavor of Jedi Knight on the run, except a little bit of a different spin on it because it's not a Jedi Knight. It may even be somebody who was taught how to use the dark side. And he's just running because he realizes he doesn't want to be part of this life anymore. And then you get to see that they've sacrificed by selling Rey or whatever. And I remember coming out of the Rise of Skywalker and thinking, I want that story. Mm-hmm. If Palpatine had a son, I want to know what his life was before he had to run away from Palpatine and what it was like on the run from Palpatine.
And why.
And
I
why.
guess, yeah, and things and what sparked that moment. So I instinctively wanted to argue against the idea of that being a series because it made me think of Game of Thrones. And it was funny. I guess the way it was presented in The Rise of Skywalker, I saw that almost as a road movie. Like, and if you're familiar with a road movie, it's like The Devil's Rejects, where, yeah, it's just one event, leads to another event into a big conclusion, and it felt like a Bonnie and Clyde movie.
The reason why I don't feel like it's a movie, though, is what I just said was a sequence of events over like a life.
Right.
And that's
It
almost
makes
like how
clumsy-
Solo is.
Makes clumsy
And
movies.
Solo's a little lame for that aspect.
Yeah, it's like everything that he's known famous for happened in 2
Yeah,
days.
exactly. Right.
Well, there's a 3-year span, right, or 5-year span.
I don't know, but the
With
point
Emilia
is you
Clarke.
see everything about Solo's life in this one movie in 2 hours, and it's kind of dumb.
Yeah, it's kind of goofy. It was Disney-esque. Yeah, that movie. God, like the more I watched that movie, the more I liked it for little reasons. Like as a whole, I like the Woody Harrelson. I like how everybody's kind of
I did like Woody Harrelson.
a douchebag. Like
Yeah.
you know, it's all criminals and
Yeah.
getting over on each other. So it's like a crime movie. And of course, like I think I mentioned this maybe in the other podcast, but how I really wish Star Wars would expand on the Lovecraftian aspect of space and just this epic
Yeah, you did say that. Right?
giantness of space. You know,
You said that
So
last
like that thing with the Rishi maze or whatever it was, when they're getting sucked in the black hole and these giant monsters in space. Like I've always kind of wanted more of that. And things like zero gravity and things. But yeah, I guess back to that. I imagine that as I imagine the Palpatine son / clone and wife story as almost like a Bonnie and Clyde.
I get
thing.
that. I get that. Like they're on the run and they're like the road movie thing. I get that. Do you think? Because when I got out of Rise of Skywalker and I thought of like that I wanted this project. I wanted this story, right? I was thinking he was a biological child. Do you think him being a failed clone ruins this story? Or do you think it still could be interesting?
So I guess it takes away a little bit of the. So okay, so if he was cloned originally, but he was raised in that system, right? Then it would make sense.
I do have one more bit of information. He's a failed clone because he cannot use the Force too.
Oh.
And in my thinking is he could use the Force. So,
Okay. Oh, so yeah, that does make it lame. That does make it a lot more lame then, because yeah, it's more sexy to think about. He's
on the run with the Force. It's
on the
sort
run.
of
This ultra powerful Force guy. Force user.
I like it that it was a Jedi on the run, but from a different perspective because he's not a Jedi.
Yeah, it's like he's running away from evil. He's not running. Yeah, it's a different. It's kind of a reversal. Usually, it's kind of. Well, I guess from my Bonnie and Clyde thing, but usually they're trying to do bad things. He's just trying to escape.
Yeah.
And trying to. They probably had Rey and the child in secret, I would assume, and they're trying to hide that. That was probably their main motivation for getting out.
Right. Yeah,
I
think
would
that
assume.
I would assume that too. You're right.
And yeah, who would have known that they had given birth to the most powerful being in known history?
Rey. In Rey we trust. Well, I was very excited about it, and now I'm not as excited about it, but I'm going to keep it in my top 5.
So the clones, wasn't there a rumor they had a picture of a Rey clone in some opening?
Well, there was a theory that she was a clone based on the Last Jedi scene where she falls into
That's right.
the pit and she sees a whole bunch of duplicates of herself.
Yep.
Yeah.
So she doesn't see her parents. She sees a bunch of duplicates of herself. She gets all upset.
And I was really digging that theory before Rise of Skywalker came out.
I think that would have been better.
Well, in retrospect, I don't know. It's all the execution of it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I really liked that theory before they gave me what they gave me, and now I'm just coping with what they gave me. So I don't know.
Yeah, we're kind of looking at things through like a narrative standpoint outside of the movies, but you do forget the execution is really everything. It could even be like not a bad story, but just like an average story, and if it's executed really well, then it's cool.
Yes.
But okay.
All right, so you got a
So
number 5?
moving on to mine. So here's
Yep.
my number 5. I haven't labeled number 1 on my outline here, but I'm as you guys probably know, I'm obsessed with the idea of Jedi training, and I think
That was your number 1.
I think I got a couple of these. The Yoda thing, that was my number 1 in the last one. Just mainly Yoda's view on the Force, explaining the Force to Luke. So in this one, I'm curious about Palpatine's recruitment and training. So there's a book called Plagueis, which I have not read, but I have researched. I've tried to get as much information on it. So I ended up kind of haphazardly learning a lot about Darth Plagueis. And what I had here was so starting with Palpatine, he was born to a wealthy family on Naboo. And it was the House of Palpatine. They were this wealthy, politically connected family. And when Palpatine was early in his life, he had this very deep feeling. It was described in one video that he was just better than everybody else. He was smarter than everybody else, more powerful, but he didn't have any way to express it. And so he was kind of just had this deep yearning as a kid. And
Do you think he had friends?
I'm sure he did.
You don't think people thought he was like an arrogant bastard?
People thought he was an arrogant bastard, but he's not. He's like a sociopath. He's like he can have friends if he wants them. He's manipulative. So that's what's interesting about him. He's a political genius. There's a lot of different types of evil, and a lot of those types of evil are expanded upon kind of in the form of each different Sith Lord. So Plagueis was a bit of a banker Sith Lord, which I think the idea behind George Lucas having that, he wanted to throw out some themes of, hey, behind the seat of power is the power of the banks and all this stuff. And those prequels came out in the 90s, I guess. So to him, that was part of it. So Palpatine had this feeling of superiority early in his life, and he realized he was evil. He's not like Anakin, who was a Jedi and then was confused and turned. This guy started off like this, and he's always been like this, which in a way it's like a respectable thing to that. And it made me think of Rey, because you remember when I was fascinated with Rey. I might have said this in the last podcast, but I was just like, why is she doing what she's doing at all? Like, her only motivation that was put out in the beginning of those movies was that she wants to find her parents. Then that kind of just gets washed over.
She wanted portions, really. That was the first motivation you ever see, is that she just wanted some food.
Yeah, she was just surviving.
So why would she care about a resistance droid, you know?
Yeah, it was like her just having this moment like, I feel this is important. So
Right.
So there's some of that. So that made me, when I read that about Palpatine, I was like, oh, maybe you could kind of put that together. But he had that feeling too. But he had no understanding of the Force early in his life. And then, so this is the part where it's going to get a little complicated for me to explain. So Higo Damask, that is Darth Plagueis' Christian name, and he was part of the Bank Clan, and they had this group. I forgot to write down the name of this. They had a secret group, kind of like the Bilderberg group in real life, where it's like all these rich and powerful people that come together and secretly pull the strings of things. And one thing that stuck out to me is like there's only a dozen or so members, and they only recruit one person into their ranks once every 10 years. So it's one of the most prestigious, exclusive clans, whatever you want to call it. So the story of Plagueis I don't know if it starts out this way, but Plagueis ends up going to Naboo to mine plasma. I don't know what plasma is, but it's the MacGuffin of that story, I guess. And he has the secret Damask Holdings company. And at the time, Naboo was ruled by this monarch named Bon Topalo. And I assume he was undermining the democracy of them at this time. And so Palpatine, at some point, he has no idea he's a Force user, but because his dad was powerful in politics, he kind of gets in there and he releases some secret information. I think to the monarch, some secret information about these bankers that are coming in and trying to hustle some resources out of them. So Plagueis figured this out and then recruited him as a spy, and then later saw his ambition and then made him his apprentice. Now, one thing was interesting. I got a little bit of some dialogue out of that. out of that book, and basically it's Plagueis talking to a young Palpatine, and he's asking, what do you actually want? What motivates you? He's like, why do you want to do anything? You know, which is what my question about Rey was about. And he gets into power. He's like, well, he kept it kind of. He's very sociopathic. He's not going to give, by nature, Palpatine's not going to give his motivations out on a silver platter. So Plagueis had to kind of pull.
That's pretty sharp of him to not do that with his new Sith master. Like, I feel like Maul would just give Sidious everything he had on the silver platter.
And he did. And actually he did.
But Sidious, I guess, from the very beginning was a little bit playing closer to the vest with Plagueis, which is...
Oh my god. So, yes, Palpatine was always, they kept his character pretty consistent, even throughout him as being a baby Palps. And, a baby Palpatine. And, basically Plagueis pulled it out of him. He's like, I want to rule. He's like, rule what? He's like, Naboo. But I want perhaps even more. Plagueis got it out of him. And once he deduced what Palpatine wanted, which of course was to rule everything, because he sees himself as this demigod of some kind.
That sounds like stressful. I guess
they're already kind of doing a mental battle.
You know, like
it does. Yeah, it does sound stressful, right?
I don't really have any desires for that.
That's why I thought Darth Maul was so genius when he took over Mandalore, and he secretly sat on the throne.
Yeah. Okay.
And Maul learned well from Palpatine. He set up a fake a puppet regime, right? So
a Snoke.
In this dialogue, that's exactly it goes in italicized of Plagueis' thoughts, and that's exactly what Plagueis thought. What better than a human to be my puppet ruler? Because humans, racially are the most dominant species in the area. So he thought, I'm going to put this human in power, let him think he's the ruler, and I'm just going to do my...
Plagueis had some political surveys going on with...
He knew. He's playing identity politics.
Yeah.
Already. He's a pragmatist right before everything. And, I got a little bit into Plagueis' Darth Tannis. Tannius. Oh, anyway. That might be my favorite Sith, but I got to learn more about him. But anyway. Palpatine ended up... Yeah, he saw him as a puppet ruler. So so just like Anakin had to kill a bunch of Jedis and kids to gain power in the dark side, Plagueis pulled it out of Palpatine that he hated his parents for being weak and his whole family name. And he didn't want anyone to he was disgusted that he was called Sheev, his first name was given to him by these weak family members. So he wanted to just only go by Palpatine from then on, which is pretty convenient, whatever. So he only talked to him, speak to him through his last name, and he ended up killing his father and killing his, I guess, whole family. I don't know exactly how that worked, to connect with the dark side. So that was his kind of baptism into the dark side. And his father had always hated him. His father thought he, I guess, sensed this limitless ambition with him and was equally disgusted. And I think what the straw that broke the camel's back, at least from what I read, was that Palpatine's dad said, well, I should have killed you when you were a baby. He's like, I know you never should have let you grow like this. So that made me think of Lannister, Tywin Lannister.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And that whole thing. It was very the same.
Good point, yeah.
To me as that.
Tywin on the pooper.
Tywin on the pooper.
Talking crap to Tyrion. You're no son of mine.
Yeah, the tension builds, and then when he finally just straight up tells him, "You're no son of mine," that's when that was the trigger. So he sets up Palpatine. He gets Palpatine a job, senator. That's pretty much how he became this big time senator on Naboo. And then eventually he was put into, and then he started manipulating things for himself. And Palpatine kind of, I think, manipulated his way into the Galactic Senate. And it also says that he used Plagueis's vast wealth to his advantage as well. And of course, we all know. Okay, so behind all this, Plagueis is more interested in studying midichlorians. So he sets up a lab. I forgot what there's a name for it. I forgot what it was called. Sets up a lab to study midichlorians. He's trying to figure out how to stop death.
So you would see that in this movie or series, right?
That's part of it. He's got a lab on a planet, a secret lab,
Okay.
where he's basically a Sith scientist, which I think is cool.
That is very cool.
And that's actually the best description of his master, who I can't really expound upon, but he was mainly a scientist. And that's pretty interesting. So Plagueis is doing all this. He's deep diving into the dark side on the side, while he's keeping Palpatine as his puppet ruler. And
So is Palpatine doing some Sith science himself, or is he more politically motivated, I guess?
it seems Palpatine, at least early on, was all about just attaining political power.
So then once he obtains the political power, then he goes back into Sith science.
Then he's free to deep dive into this science thing, and that's where we end up with this cloning crazy madness.
Exactly. So he had to take care of business first,
Yep.
and then Sith science was a luxury.
Yep. Just like kind of like Scarface.
That is nothing like Scarface.
It's everything like Scarface.
Cocaine was Scarface's luxury, not Sith science.
Yeah, cocaine was the Sith science of that story.
Okay.
So, yeah, so Plagueis, this this secret group trying to rule everything. Plagueis.
So is the hero of this story Palpatine?
I would see this movie. I would see this movie more as like The Godfather. maybe no one is really the hero, or maybe like Breaking
So
Bad.
who's the hero of Godfather? Michael Corleone? Al Pacino?
But he would be.
So Palpatine
But he still broke bad.
He did.
So
at the very end,
well, no, because Palpatine takes over, kills his master, completely takes over, and
That
then
would probably be
he's
the
a god.
end, right?
I would assume that
would be the
be
end
the
when
end.
he offs Plagueis.
Yeah, and then it leads into the when he starts using the banking clan to invade Naboo, opening up Episode 1.
So the very
I would
last scene could be like him discussing invading Naboo with like Maul or something.
Yeah, and he did get Maul from a Night Sister, off Dathomir, which Dathomir is something I'm really interested in. I want to see Dathomir in a movie really badly. I don't know how we would.
They teased it in Solo.
Did they? They
Yeah,
talk
well,
about
at the very
it?
end, Maul's like, "Come to me on Dathomir."
They do. Yep.
That would be cool.
That got me. I remember that now. That was exciting for me. In that game, Jedi Order, your Dathomir's a level on there, so it's cool. But it's cool in that game. You have the option to go there in the beginning of the game, but if you go there, you'll pretty much get wiped out immediately. It's beyond your level. It's pretty cool. So
What's like the best set piece from this movie? Is there any cool action set piece or anything like that?
what do you mean by set piece? Like
Like-
a climactic event?
Yes.
Okay, so
Like Rey and Kylo fight the guards, right? The Snoke guards. I would consider that like a big climactic set piece that people remember that movie from. Do you think you got any from this movie?
sure. So this movie would start off slowly. I guess like Phantom Menace is like he's young, he's ignorant, and he's learning, and then it would set off when he gives this information to the monarch, Bon Tapalo, and then Plagueis finds him, and then he starts getting trained, and then it would have to speed up. He gets through some training, and then his when he kills his family, that would be a big set piece. I really just imagine that exactly as Anakin in the Jedi Temple, kind of the same deal.
That would be cool.
That would be about maybe in the middle of the movie. I would imagine. And as far as other battles, he would fight.
It doesn't have to be battles. I'm just thinking like really impressive scenes that you'll walk away with this in your head, you know? Like him killing his family might be pretty sweet. Does he use a lightsaber to kill his family?
So they talk about it. He keeps his force powers secret for the most part, as Plagueis did. No one really knew. So here's another set piece in that movie. here's a big part of that movie that I completely forgot about. Okay, so kind of the catalyst for him becoming in power and under Plagueis's rule, a rogue senator. Now he is that I forgot his name, but he is the alien species with the three eyes sticking out of his head.
Oh, right,
One,
right,
one,
right.
two, three, whatever
Yeah.
they are. He sets up an assassination attempt to kill Plagueis and take over that secret Bilderberg whatever council, and he fails to kill Plagueis, and he has a party on his home palace and his home planet in celebration of his successful assassination, but wasn't informed that it had technically failed, which is
Oh.
kind of silly.
Yeah,
So
but
this-
it's still pretty interesting.
This is a huge set piece. So, as you would call it, so Palpatine to take revenge on. Oh, and he scarred. I forgot this on my notes. He scarred Plagueis. Plagueis's face. His like some of his jaw is missing. Like part of his jaw is missing. And he's screwed up, which made me think of Snoke.
Yeah, it does make me think of Snoke.
So maybe there was some
I
stealing
think
from there.
they wanted Snoke to be Plagueis.
It was gonna be for sure, and then they changed it last minute. I'm almost certain of that. But yeah, Plagueis is maimed. I mean, as all Siths must be, apparently. And Palpatine didn't reveal much of his force power or his lightsaber combat stuff before this. They're all about secrecy. That's above everything. And but as revenge, he goes to that palace, and he kills Palpatine kills everybody, and this is after a few years of training where he's been doing the things. So the first one, his first group of murders was his family. That was the first one. He was still tentative there. Years and years go by, and then this event happens, and they talk about he looks in himself in the mirror and he sees his eyes turned yellow, and he's salivating at the mouth. There's just something about his face is just madness, and he's finally released to that dark side energy, and he laughs, and he's super happy about how far he's come, and he kills all of the other people first, so that this guy who tried to assassinate him and Plagueis sees it, suffers, then kills him, and that was a big part of him using his lightsaber vaguely in public for the first time, and yeah, so you can imagine.
That's really cool. Like I kind of imagine a Great Gatsby like party in Star Wars, in the Star Wars castle, with young Palpatine coming in and slaughtering bitches.
Yep, just came in.
That seems
revenge.
pretty cool.
And one comment on this when all right, we're back. So we had some technical difficulties. So we were talking about I gotta jump right back in here. So the battle between Palpatine slaughtering all of the assassins in his palace. He's having the Great Gatsby.
The Great Gatsby party, and just slaughtering all the people. And you said somebody commented on that and said, "Oh, they said that isn't it funny how close this three-eyed, goofy-looking alien
Yep, that's it.
came to balancing the Force because he almost killed both Siths."
Yeah. He almost killed Plagueis and Palpatine just randomly. They came inches away from it. And
I think they're called Gran. Gran?
Gran?
Maybe? Gran?
Yeah, I can't remember.
So instead of Ray, in Ray we trust, we just need to be in Gran we trust.
In this random Grant. Well, he has a name, but I don't have it on hand.
It doesn't matter. He's a three-eyed, weird-looking alien.
And wouldn't that be fitting for evil people to be killed by other evil people? That'd be poetic.
Yeah.
It's kind of Breaking Bad. I keep saying it, but it's like a Breaking Bad thing. You know, it's almost like that movie would be a gang or a mafia movie. You know, that's how I would imagine it. Yet in space.
Well, okay, so this is like a gangster movie, and the end of it is him killing Plagueis.
Him killing Plagueis and then setting
And he's
himself up to.
Got a few good moments where he.
Actually, the thing about one thing I read, which is crazy, he kills Plagueis after he becomes Chancellor. It's basically right before the events. Like when he kills Plagueis, it must be after Episode 2.
So I heard that too. That Plagueis was still around when Maul was being trained too.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
So-
Maul came in pretty early.
So it had to be. But I kind of like it better. Like, can we just rewrite canon here? I like it better if the movie ends with him killing Plagueis and then him about to invade Naboo.
And him ascending to power or starting his moves.
Yeah.
After, yeah. Well, it kind of undermines the whole point of it, because the point of it was Plagueis would put him in this place of political power, and once he gets to that place of political power, which is the chancellorship, oh, got it, kills Plagueis. Now I'm no longer a puppet ruler. I think that's kind of the point of it. Is that he, that was his wheelhouse, was just political manipulation. But
so what's the last shot in the movie?
Okay, so I'd say like the climax of the movie would be where he kills Plagueis, or like he attains the chancellorship, and then he kills Plagueis, and then the climax. It still would be. It'd be like he gets the chancellorship, he kills Plagueis, and then he starts making his moves with the banking clan, takes over his assets.
You know what's interesting about that, though? Maul is dead, too. Or, he's becoming Spider-Leg Maul, but he's dead, too.
Presumed that, yeah, he is.
So...
But he had other ones, I guess, in between there, I'm sure. I don't remember, but...
Well...
Whatever.
It's almost like the end of Godfather, where the few people come into the office and kiss Michael Corleone's hand. Right?
In a way, yeah, he has ascended power.
He has just murdered his boss and obtained the rank of Chancellor through insidious means.
God.
And so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, the whole Plagueis... I think the name of that book was just Plagueis. It should totally be a movie.
All right, so...
Palpatine's main character. But
my number 4. Let's see.
Number 4.
Okay. My number 4, I'm going with Luke post Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
So Luke Skywalker.
The Age of the New Republic.
The Age of the New Republic. Luke Skywalker is trying to get his bearings on being a Jedi without any mentors, right? Yoda and Obi-Wan are gone. And this is Luke. You get to see the Luke that you probably wanted to see in Last Jedi.
Yep.
He's at his peak Jedi-ness in a cinematic era where we have all the right special effects and technology to show off Jedi prowess, and the only thing I know about Luke in this era is that he is looking for artifacts, right?
Right.
In Battlefront, he's looking for artifacts. I never played Battlefront, but...
So, yeah, he's looking for the Emperor's stash house.
Yeah.
Which is on a kind of a backwoods planet that doesn't have a spaceport and all this stuff.
Okay.
And that's where he gets the holocron. I think... I probably get this wrong. I think he finds a holocron in it, and that's supposed to play into the sequel trilogy.
Well, so I want to see Luke, and I want to see him exploring Jedi thoughts and artifacts and trying to get the history of the Jedi. I want to see him figure out what happened to his dad. I want to see him figure out how Sidious actually manipulated the Jedi and the Senate, and kind of connect the originals and the prequels with Luke is finding out what happened in the prequels. And then I want to connect the sequels by Luke trying to figure out the best way to bring the Jedi Order back, and maybe even having some reservations about doing so in the beginning, before he starts doing it.
He did.
Well, that's even better. And I want to see that on screen. And so what this would mean is we would need a de-aged Mark Hamill
They found it. They found him.
They have that.
I saw some rumor video.
Sebastian Stan, right?
I don't know the guy's
Okay.
name. I just saw the picture and I was like, oh yes.
Yeah. Well, so if they could de-age Mark Hamill and make that technology like perfect, then so be it. But I really want this, and I think we might get a flavor of it in Mandalorian.
Yeah, you think we're gonna see Luke in the Mandalorian? I know people think that.
I want it. I don't.
I want it to. I want more New Republic. You know, it was so frustrating in the sequel trilogy. You know, they built this whole new Galactic Republic up. We didn't see any of it.
I know.
Like all we saw was another rebellion and another empire, and the New Republic wasn't even a thing. And yeah, we see it in the Mandalorian. We see that prison, that floating prison of the New Republic, and then we see the X-wings come in. That's the only tiny bit we get of the New Order at all. Like
That is frustrating.
It's annoying.
I want to see Luke trying to get his Jedi bearings, discovering the secrets of the past, contemplating setting up a Jedi Order, maybe even train a little bit of Ben Solo. I can see casting a child actor for Ben Solo, but it's got to be a pretty damn good child actor.
It's gonna be a Juilliard trained Marine actor.
Yeah, exactly. But so I want to see this, and if I don't get a standalone movie or a standalone series, at
Might be a
least
series.
put Luke in the Mandalorian. And a bonus would be if we could get a little bit of flavor that's teased in Rise of Skywalker, where Lando says he was on some of these adventures with Luke.
He says that?
Yeah, he says it. He
Okay.
says him and Luke were tracking a Jedi hunter on that desert planet.
I guess an Inquisitor that would be?
Yeah, well, in Rise of Skywalker, they call it a Jedi hunter.
Okay.
But if you could get, I don't know if you use a Daniel Glover and a de-aged Mark Hamill together. I feel like that's kind of weird, but
I can only imagine. That'd be bizarre.
I don't know. But
No, we get another actor for Luke. For
that
sure.
would be a bonus. A bonus if I could get Lando in there too, because Rise of Skywalker does say they had shenanigans together.
Okay. Yeah. No. That's the whole thing with Luke's story. It's all implied. Everything after Return of the Jedi, it's all this implied stuff.
The point
we
is,
love Luke. They think people don't like Luke.
I want Luke to know the failures of the past Jedi, and then before he trains the new generation of Jedi, contemplate whether or not this is going to be successful, and then when it's not successful, it hits him even harder.
This is all true.
And I want to see some just pure Jedi adventure.
Yes. Yes. So actually, you're similar. My number 2 is Luke as well.
Is it really?
Yeah, and it there's a lot of overlap with yours.
Okay.
But yours, well, like, yeah, I wanted to see his new Jedi school, and I started researching a bit of his Jedi school. I couldn't figure out. So mine was a bit of a double. Yours is Luke. Your number 4 is Luke after Return of the Jedi. My number
Prior to the Jedi school.
prior to the Jedi school. Okay, so his adventures. So presumably he would be going to temples and getting information,
Yes.
all this stuff, so that he could train this new generation. I'm pretty sure that's all. That's true. And his new Jedi school, I got a little blurb about it. It was 12 people. I say it a bit in the sequel trilogy, but I think I'm kind of diving into Legends with that. But it was 12 people, and I was trying to figure out. It was on Yavin 4, but so I guess mine. Are you done?
Yeah, I'm
okay.
done. That was it.
Oh, okay, that was it. Okay, so with my number 4 was Luke. I labeled it Luke's training - then the first new Jedi Order. So what's interesting, in between episode 4 and episode 5, Vader and Luke did cross blades one time, which I don't have much information about it, but it was a quick thing where he got away. So they had a fight before Empire Strikes Back, according to people. which is
I
retarded.
hate that.
Which is retarded.
That is.
It was like an escape.
That's outrageous.
It is outrageous.
It's unfair.
It is outrageous. It kind of undermines episode 5, which is the best movie, in my opinion, personal opinion. But, so, aside from that, which I didn't really expand on, maybe that was just fake news I saw. But,
I hope so.
what is in the extended universe, at least, is that he wanted to get some training. He tried to get some training before his call to Dagobah. Right after they blew up the first Death Star, right after he blew up the first Death Star, he got a calling to this planet. This planet was called Deveron, and I went into a little bit of a deep dive on this planet. So it's a kind of like Dagobah. It's a very heavily jungle planet, right? Are you aware of this planet? So,
No, I'm just thinking it's probably where the Deveronians are from.
No,
right?
it is. It is.
The Satan aliens.
So I looked. They weren't the. So Deveronians are those Satan aliens. So when I saw a picture, I could be wrong. It was the aliens that look very humanoid, almost just like tan humans with kind of avatar-like faces and big symmetrical freckles on their face. Do you know what those are?
No.
Because this picture was Deveronians, but this kind of throws me for a loop if it's those demon aliens.
Well, then maybe it's just we're
here's what I know about
talking two different things. So.
maybe. So here's what I know about the Deveron planet. Anyway, he gets called to this. There's a Jedi temple there, one of the most ancient Jedi temples, called the Eat It.
You know what? I want to see a Jedi temple that's not ancient, like 300 years or something, because every Jedi temple you ever hear about is the first one.
Yeah, no, and that is the thing. They don't know where there's no one agrees on when the first which Jedi temple is the first. They think the one on Ahch-To may have been.
I want like a contemporary Jedi temple that they made like right before the Phantom Menace that has like all the state of the art.
All the new stuff, the
New
toys.
Republic shit.
Yeah, there's nothing. With New Republic that might as well not even exist. It's just an abstract. So this planet, it's Deveron. The planet's called Deveron. Deveronians. They're one of the first alien species that discovered hyperspace travel, and they kind of forged part of the Corellian trade route. Whatever, I forget. There's a better name for it, but this hyperspace route. And the men were kind of predestined to desire travel. They were hunters, so they wanted to travel all the time. The women were like these engineers. They would build everything. So they ended up, I guess, figuring out the secret to faster than light travel. But what's interesting is once they got off world, they were obsessed with preserving the ecosystem of their own planet. So their planet is pretty pristine, especially for a species that got out of this. Or that discovered light speed, and presumably would have to have all these shipyards and things. So they would do all the shipyards.
Saving their nest egg, and they're doing all their industry away from it.
Yes.
That's pretty smart.
Yeah, they do all their industry outside of it, and then they bring it back. So that's kind of what it's like a vibe. It's like a hunter-gatherer vibe, but expanded out into the universe. So the men go out, they travel, they bring the technology and things back, and the women build society. Like the women are the politicians, they're the engineers, they're the architects, all this stuff. They're building society. And what else we got? So there's an ancient Jedi temple, and very ancient, not 300 years old, but from eons of the past, dilapidated.
More ancient than Jeddah and Ahch-To, and
maybe not Ahch-To.
Coruscant.
Coruscant. That's actually a good question. That goes into one of my other ones, which I don't have much information on because there is not much information on it.
All right.
But we'll get to that.
Okay,
so the Temple of Edith, Eedit, it's an ancient temple, and that planet is very strong with the Force. Planets with a lot of life. Life creates Force. There's a lot of Force energy. It's a very light side Force energetic place. Convergence. They have a word for it. Vergence in the Force. So this temple, during the Clone War era, was invaded by Dooku and Savage Opress, which I forgot. Who's Savage Opress? Is that Maul's
brother?
Maul's
yeah.
brother? So yeah, him and Dooku, they invaded that planet, and then they killed everyone in that temple. Or there was a few Jedi Masters that presided over that temple. They were killed by Dooku and Savage Opress, and then it was vaguely left abandoned. And through the Empire era, the Empire put they kept people from going in and out of the planet.
A blockade?
A blockade, yeah, or yeah. So basically, they made a blockade. You can't just go in and out of this planet. And it said, what I read was they did
Did
an
it
orbital.
have to do with taxes?
It was a taxation without representation kind of situation.
All right.
And they eventually they did an orbital strike and they destroyed most of his temple. And it went into great detail. Like part of it was slag, which is, I don't know if you know what slag is. It's when you burn something down to the point where there's just a little bit of molten metal that was made into like this bit of a rock. So there's craters. They were very detailed with it. The front was destroyed. Temple of Edith. So this gets me back. Luke was drawn to this place pretty much from this story right after the Battle of Yavin. Or right after the Battle of Yavin, right after the Death Star being destroyed. And there he trained with Obi-Wan Force Ghost as Force Ghost training him. And they were specific about him discovering 3 of these they call them remotes, or those are those blaster spheres, robots that float around, that you deflect with, that the Jedi's train with. Apparently he got really good fighting, working with 3 of those. And apparently they were Obi-Wan's, I don't know, I think this is from a comic book. So he used 3 remotes. And what's special about this is what I wanted to see in a movie was that it's the first time you see him really use a lightsaber against an enemy. So while he's there on training on this temple, one of the locals, there's a story behind her, I think, kind of joins up with him. And then the Empire comes and he fights a bit of the Empire, fights stormtroopers, whatever, and then bails out. And promises that person that was there that he will return one day and visit this temple and like help discover the secrets of this temple and all these things. And they say eventually he did. After Return of the Jedi, he did return to this temple on Edith, the planet
So the story you just went over was between episodes 4 and 5, right?
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
then after
It's
6,
literally pretty much instantly after he destroys the Death Star. This was like presumably his next destination.
Okay. So, do you think it's likely that we're actually going to get
No.
this movie? Like, if there was,
If you imagine the Luke Skywalker movie.
if I had the magic to make any of these movies actually exist, it would be the Luke Skywalker movie.
Because that's what we've been robbed of all this time.
Exactly.
That's the biggest black hole in the whole story.
Yes. So, do you think we'll actually get it?
I would want it to be a series, but maybe that's just because The Mandalorian was so well done. Or in the series, you can expand. It's easier to have different time zones in an episodic story. In a movie, like you said with Solo, it's clumsy.
Yeah.
To have a long-term thing in a movie.
Yes. Yeah.
So I would imagine it as like a show, maybe like a quick mini series, and you get Mark Hamill in it, and then you get that young guy who looks just like him. Did you have his name?
Sebastian Stan.
Sebastian Stan. Get them both in there. Yeah, I like the story. So
I mean, that one snippet of Luke and Leia fighting in Rise of Skywalker
that was
is
sex.
gorgeous.
it was amazing.
I just need that. Like,
yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
All right. Well,
it's funny.
you heard it here. We need it, Kathy. Give it to us, Kathy.
Give it to us, Kathy. You're very talented, wonderful producer. Everybody loves you. You're great.
We love you.
The future is female.
Give us our Luke Skywalker mother effing film.
Star Wars has always been political.
Or series.
It's going to be great.
It's up to you.
Thank you so much.
We'll leave that to you.
Leave that to me.
Okay. Is it you or
So
me?
we did it. It's you now. So we did Luke.
Okay.
Yeah.
Luke showed up on both of
So
our
this
lists.
is your number 3.
Okay.
For the timestamp.
My number 3.
I got a blank page for this next one. Oh boy.
All right, so I'm gonna go with the way I have it written down in my notes is Crimson Dawn, but in parentheses, Vader versus Maul. So, let me elaborate.
Please do, because I'm curious.
Okay, so in Solo, we see that Darth Maul is the head of Crimson Dawn. And that means that he has been trying to get back to where he was before Sidious knocked him down in the Clone Wars.
Right, Sidious fought him and Savage Opress with his two double wielded. That was pretty cool.
And
his Jarkai art.
Okay,
Jarkai is the art of having one saber in each hand.
Okay.
Of which Anakin was pretty good with, and he trained Ahsoka Tano in it. That's the whole thing.
All right.
I like the combat stuff. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know anything about that. But runner up for me though is, of course, like I would love to see. This is a side note, but I would love to see the Darth Maul episodes of Clone Wars in live action.
For sure.
Like period.
I was considering that. Yeah.
But this is kind of a stand-in for that, and with a little bit more flavor added into it. So Solo establishes Darth Maul as the head of Crimson Dawn at the end of Solo. That, to me, indicates that Maul has tried his old strategy again, where he's taking over criminal syndicates, right? Because you see him do this in Clone Wars. So he's got Mandalore, and he's got a bunch of criminal syndicates, and he's become quite a threat, as Sidious says. And Sidious knocks him down.
You have become a rival.
A rival. So you see Maul was not done after he gets knocked down by Sidious. He had some more ambition and tried again. And so now he's in charge of Crimson Dawn. And what I want is basically a sequel to Solo where Kira, what's her name?
Her last name?
No, the actress.
Oh, Amelia Clark.
Amelia Clark. Amelia Clark is in this project, okay? And so is Ray Park and the guy who voices Darth Maul. So Kira, maybe the opening scene is Maul trying some more shenanigans to become even more powerful. So the opening scene to me is Kira representing Crimson Dawn, meeting with some Hutts. And then we get some
the Hutts the guys.
Godfather flavor.
Yep, some gangster
right?
stuff.
Assassination of the Hutts in the opening scene. A few Hutts.
That'd be awesome.
And this
Love it.
really ticks off Jabba the Hutt, who is not present, but some of his brethren are taken off the map. And we have Kira, who's basically the face of Crimson Dawn, but Maul is still in charge. And it's a crime syndicate movie where Kira is trying to amass the crime syndicates again. But this time, instead of Palpatine coming down to knock Maul down a few notches, he sends Vader to do it. And what this will do is connect another scene in Rebels where Maul sees Vader coming. Yeah. It's when Vader fights Ahsoka, I think. I don't know much about Rebels. I haven't watched Rebels.
I mean, I'm kind of getting into it now, but yeah, I'm not sure where we're at on it.
But they're in a scene with Maul where Maul's already been knocked down again since Crimson Dawn era because he's on this planet stranded, Malachor, I think it's called. He's stranded on that planet. And he knows Vader is coming and is afraid of Vader. You can see...
Everyone is.
I've seen those scenes, and Maul knows who Vader is, and he's afraid of him. And so this would explain that. It would explain why Maul is afraid of Vader. And so one thing I also thought of to like really I'm basically trying to tie everything together that I want out of Star Wars.
We're being very ambitious.
Yeah, I am. Basically, I have a Crimson Dawn versus Hutt scenario that turns into a Sith versus Maul scenario. And then Vader, the way he tries to get at Maul in the first instance, before he actually has to try to do it himself, is he hires a bounty hunter
Yep, which is what he does.
Maybe Boba Fett.
It has precedence, I guess.
And maybe Boba Fett goes in there, acts like he's part of Maul's entourage or whatever, or Kira's entourage, and then he says he destroyed Darth Maul, but he has no proof. And the reason he has no proof is because he, according to Boba Fett, disintegrated him. And now,
Awesome.
Vader is no longer trusting Boba Fett when he says he disintegrated his target. And that's why...
that ties into New Hope.
Well, Empire Strikes Back.
Or Empire Strikes Back, yeah.
Where he looks at him and says, no disintegration.
There's precedence for that.
Yes, precedence.
Oh, man. You've thought about this.
I have. I really have. I basically want all of the things I love
You're
about
hired.
the criminal underworld tied in together, and I want Vader versus Maul in that movie.
Yeah, so wasn't George Lucas right before he sold the franchise? He was working on Underworld, right? It kind of was. It was going in this direction.
Maybe.
I mean, maybe, but the Underworld thing of the Coruscant, that was supposed to be kind of a crime movie, right?
Yes.
And I guess when you think about it, if you do expand on a lot of the extended universe and you make it into movies, a lot of it would be crime movies. At least so far with us, what we've been talking about. Crime.
It would be cool. The crime movies would be cool.
You know, we get Francis Ford Coppola on everything. We
Yeah.
get Martin Scorsese.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
let's do the thing. Can you imagine?
Well, and I also want in this movie that maybe Vader kills Kira. Now you have Kira I kind of like in Solo, and you would kind of sympathize with her in this movie because she's being a criminal, but she's still a pawn from Maul, right? But
yeah, she's like his consigliere or whatever.
yeah, basically
lawyer.
consigliere.
Consigliere. I can never say that. It's way too
I don't
Italian.
even know if I said it correctly, but Vader kills Kira and then thinks he kills Maul, but really he's just stranded on Malachor. You don't have to tie Boba Fett and the no disintegrations in there if you can't fit that in.
It's a little fan servicey.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a little.
It's a little bit like Solo.
It's a little psychopathic.
It's a little bit like Solo where you tried to put too much stuff in it.
Yeah.
But basically, I think I want a criminal syndicate Star Wars movie, but I want Vader to be called in to knock Maul down. Now, here's another spin on it, too. The Emperor may just find pure joy in testing his old apprentice with his new apprentice. And he could even say something to Vader like, you need to prove to me that you're the apprentice that I need by my side because Maul over here is making moves.
Well, big move. Yeah, he's taking over everything.
He's making moves, and I'm impressed by his move making. And I need you to prove to me that you're still the one who's supposed to be right here inheriting the Sith legacy. So basically I have
Maul is impressive.
Crimson Dawn, Vader vs. Maul. That's what I mean by all of those explanations.
So would this movie be named Crimson Dawn?
It might just be named Crimson Dawn.
A Darth Maul story.
I think if you just name it literally Crimson Dawn, it's a perfect.
It encompasses everything.
Yes. What say you?
That's a lot. That's good. I mean, you're asking for kind of the best parts of Clone Wars made into a movie, which I agree with. I would kind of
I would also accept that they just take the Maul arc from Clone Wars and make it live action, but they're never going to do that.
Yeah, they can't do that.
So there is a spot here that they've set up in Rebels and Solo where
Or an arc, yeah.
Maul is in charge of a criminal syndicate again, and he gets knocked down a few notches, and I think it would be cool to have Palpatine playing his two apprentices against each other to show Vader that he's not totally set with Vader as his number two.
Which is true. I mean, he was plotting him again. With him and Tarkin were going at it.
Him and Tarkin, or in Luke too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but Palpatine's cool like that. He doesn't really abide by the rule of two. Like
Yes.
he always is on top.
And you know, if Palpatine called Maul and said, "All right, buddy, it's you and me again,"
You're back. Yeah.
Maul would be so stoked.
Maul's about it. Like, well, they say, when I was reading a little bit about Darth Maul, is that he wasn't supposed to engage. So I guess this tied into that video about Palpatine, or this stuff that I was getting into about Palpatine and Plagueis trying to keep their Force powers a secret. And Darth Maul had revealed himself by attacking Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon.
Yes.
With Force powers. He Palpatine was undercover,
Right.
deep undercover at that point. So he, I guess he was mad about that.
Why was he? That doesn't make sense to me though, because they had that scene.
They sent him as an assassin.
That scene, he said, "At last, we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi." Palpatine should have said, "Whoa, hold up,
Well,
buddy."
Maul was saying that, not Palps.
I know, but he should have
But
said.
no, that's true.
He should have been more specific.
Well, maybe he took it a little too far. Yeah, that's true. So they were planning on revealing themselves and taking control. They were making big moves at that point.
All right, so what's your next one?
So my next one, I was kind of inspired by the whole story of Momin.
Oh, I like that.
So if you've seen Rogue One, you see that we're watching it right now. We actually have it on the background. We're not at that part, but it's cool. You get to see Darth Vader's palace in Rogue One, and the story of his palace they dug into one of the comic books about Darth Vader's got his own comic book series, and it's not canon anymore. Nothing's canon. And there's a lot of cool stories in there. And
This one is canon.
This one is canon?
Yep.
Oh, well, I guess because it is the same castle shape.
It is. It is.
Okay, I guess, yeah, it kind of is canon. So, in this story, it's on Mustafar. Well, okay, so I'll kind of start it from the beginning. So, there's this scene in one of the comic books where Palpatine goes up to Vader. And this is at the height of their power, you could say. And he's like, well, where do you want to live? You could have a palace. He's like, how about Naboo? He's like, you can have Naboo. You're the where your wife is from, and which is kind of weird because Palpatine's from Naboo. Whatever. He obviously doesn't care.
Well, he was very selfless.
He's Palpatine's a good guy, you know. And he's like, you could have.
Anakin
Naboo.
just killed a lot of younglings on his behalf.
He deserves some special treatment. He's kind of like a trained dog, you know? Which isn't that Leia describe him as a dog at some point?
Oh yeah.
Like almost directly.
I should have known it would be Tarkin holding your leash.
Yep, that's what it was. And I remember it's funny. I watched the behind the scenes of that, and all those actors hated the dialogue. They were disgusted. Like, who talks like this? But
especially Harrison.
Harrison's a very down to earth guy, but so putting him up in space is a thing. But I think George got the last laugh. But so in Rogue One, we get to see Vader's palace, and this is a pretty popular video on YouTube, and the story is pretty out there. But the story is he built this. He was trying to figure out. Palpatine offered him basically, and he's like, "Where would you like to live? You could choose Naboo. You could choose this and that. I forgot what else, but the Naboo one stuck out. But basically, anywhere on Coruscant, wherever you like." And he chose Mustafar. And Palpatine kind of smirked or smiled at the fact that Vader chose Mustafar, as in it might add to his pain, because the pain is the source of a Sith's power, in a way. So, and in a way, it could cull Vader, because Palpatine's always worried about Vader overthrowing him, rightly so. And that was part of it. He wants more suffering for Vader. So Vader chooses Mustafar because he's obsessed with Padme still, and that's his biggest regret, and that's really what he's all about. And Mustafar was the site of his biggest failure, and he wants to live within that. And also aesthetically, it just fits. You know, this is all added after. It just looks cool.
Absolutely,
Long story short, it just looks cool.
Black castle with lava flowing out of it.
Big old black symmetrical castle with looks like it's powered by like a lava, like a hydraulic, you know.
A lava
dam, a lava turbine. The lava's pouring through and powering these turbines. That's powering his ship or his castle. And but the story behind all this is that there was of course, conveniently a Sith temple on Mustafar, and Vader's castle is the site of it. And as Vader's traveling through Mustafar, trying to find the right place, he runs into these Sith ruins. He finds this mask, this helmet, and this is Momin's helmet. And I know you know about this. Momin is an old Sith lord from antiquity. I don't know exactly how far back it goes. It must be Old Republic.
I think it's far back.
Very far back. It seems very. It's such an obscure. It's an out there story, so it sounds right.
Yeah.
Because the thing about Momin is very unique among the Sith. He's probably my favorite Sith, at least as far as I've read about. He doesn't really care. He
doesn't care about Sithness.
He doesn't care about the Sith Order. He doesn't care about power. The Sith are all about ruling the galaxy. He couldn't give a damn about ruling the galaxy.
He likes to make art.
He is about making art, but about expressing, creating. He follows the will of the Force. So just like Qui-Gon, kind of schismed himself out of the Jedi Order by not listening to the High Jedi Council to do things this way. He's like, really, I follow the will of the Force. I'm going to train Anakin. But, I follow the will of the Force. There's a higher power over you. He follows God, basically. He's a zealot. He's a religious zealot of the Force. In the same way that Momin is that. Like, he follows the dark side of the Force above everything else. And in this comic, he makes fun of Vader and Palpatine, I guess, for being obsessed with the Jedi, which I loved. He just undermines their whole thing. He's like, why are you too obsessed with the Jedi? Who cares about the Jedi? All in his whole story was he wanted to create a work of art in honor of the dark side of the Force. And Momin, he had all these crazy machinations. He would create, and they have the story of how he gets to this point. He gets to the point where he makes his magnum opus, his masterpiece, where he sets off, like, for lack of a better word, a nuclear bomb.
Yes, right.
In a city of innocent people. And that nuclear bomb's exploding and then freeze. All those people, the horror on their faces as they know they're about to be disintegrated. He wants to freeze that moment into a work of art. He wants all that pain and fear, that big, almost, that climax of fear and pain in that one moment, and he wants it to last forever. And I forget how it went from there, but he kind of wanted to coalesce that quite into his work.
Yes.
This big explosion of pain. And that was what he did. So he was a sculptor, and he sculpted his mask. So I guess I forgot to say that he's speaking through this mask, and he's able to possess people. And the story goes, he ends up possessing one of Vader's minions or guards. And he teases Vader. Vader's like, well, what are you going to do for me? I don't really care about you. And this is Vader at his height. And all he cares about is bringing back Padme from the dead. And Momin says, yeah, sure, I got you. Yeah, sure. Yeah, we'll do that. Like, we'll get there.
I got a fix for that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
He's gonna just take care of you, and just as a good Sith. But really, of course, the spirit of Momin's plan was he wanted to possess Vader. I think, just take over a body and then continue his own work. And I forget how this ends, but obviously Vader comes out victorious, and all this stuff happens. But what spits out I think in exchange, Momin was going to give him plans for his palace. This is before his palace is built. This is where all this is going.
And Vader's trying to build the palace for the specific reason to tune the dark side so that he can resurrect Padme.
Yes. Like he's trying to create like a resonant nexus in the dark side of the Force.
Yes.
Found the most dark side Sith, the Dagobah tree place, if you will, on Mustafar.
Yeah.
And so Momin designs for Vader in exchange for the promise of putting him in a body, maybe, and letting him be alive again to carry on his thing, to create a palace, and he gives him these architectural designs of the palace, and then Vader eventually builds that palace. Momin ends up going away. Vader somehow defeats him. I forget the climax.
Momin uses it to come back. Uses the palace and this time portal it opens to bring himself back.
So he pulls himself back through time
from death.
From death. Okay.
Yes, and then Vader does defeat him though, and then Vader goes through the portal and gets to see all kinds of like trippy shit.
Yeah, he just goes full 2001 Space Odyssey, Dark Side
Yes.
style. Just
Right.
like he goes into the rabbit hole. Just, yeah, that's always good.
You know what I love about this one? So first off, who are the good guys in this movie?
There's no good guys in any of my movies.
Yeah.
Like this is all just break. You're only good relatively to the other guy.
Yeah, I guess in my Vader versus Maul movie, I guess Kira is the good guy, but she dies before the end of the movie. So, but you know what I love about this movie the best?
What?
13-year-old me gets to see Natalie Portman again.
Of course.
Because Vader does go into the portal and sees Natalie Portman. Now, do you think Kathy Kennedy can sign Natalie Portman for this movie?
She will try. I don't think she could take care of it. I mean, you know,
I think she
Natalie's
would do
seen
it.
a lot in her days from here on, but
I think she would do it. She's, female Thor, which I think is not the right term.
female Thor.
Female Thor.
She's the Captain Marvel.
She's gonna be Thor.
Is she really?
Yeah, Natalie Portman. So there's a Marvel comic book series where the girlfriend of Thor, which is whoever Natalie Portman plays in the Thor movie. Do you remember her in the movie? The Thor movie?
I never saw a Thor movie.
Well, she is
Just give me the
Thor's
rundown.
girlfriend, and in the comics, Thor's girlfriend eventually becomes Thor. Like she uses the hammer and becomes a superhero. And so they're making that movie where she's going to be Thor.
Okay, well there you
So
go.
I think she'd be willing to come back for the Tale of Lord Momin.
The Tale of Lord Moment. It would be. I mean, I imagine like I kind of wrote down that as part of my thing. I was calling for a Vader movie, which would be clumsy but I just want the greatest hits.
Right.
I want the greatest hits of Vader's exploits between, episode 3 when he becomes Vader, and perhaps episode 4. I just want the stuff in between the movies.
Well,
you know?
that whole Charles Soule comic series that ends with Lord Momin, I would like to see all of that in live action, because he kills Jocasta Nu in that comic book series. He builds his own his red lightsaber.
That's another part I wanted to get into.
He's
Yep.
involved with stopping a Mon Calamari early rebellion, where the Mon Calamari are the squid people, like Admiral Akbar.
Yeah, and they had a lot of ship technology, and they had the biggest fleet.
So
They were the basis of the
part
Rebel
of that
fleet, right?
comic explains why they're such a prominent part of the Rebel Alliance, is because they rebelled against the Empire on their own without anybody else.
They're like kind of like the Hutts in their own way. They have their own area of space, and they're very out there, right? Like way.
Well, yeah,
Remote.
but Vader's involved in stopping that little rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
But some ships go off, and they're part of the Rebel Alliance. So, like, I would take that whole comic book series and make it a Disney Plus series, and I would be happy.
A series would be more
Yeah.
applicable because yeah.
And you can
Everyone
even
wants more
take
Vader.
my Maul versus Vader arc and make that part of that series, and I would totally be okay with that.
Yeah, we want a Vader movie. We want a Vader series. Everyone wants more Vader. Like I don't know, maybe not everyone, but like we're all kind of attached to edifices from the original.
Everybody wants Vader.
Everyone wants Vader. Like we got a lot of Anakin in the Clone Wars, but yeah.
All right, so the last two I have they're the ones that are farther away from the Skywalker saga.
Okay.
So, we have two. I have two left.
Mine
so,
are too.
I'm gonna go with the first dyad.
Yeah, I've been reading about this dyad thing too. So
Yep.
it predates the rule of 2.
It predates the rule.
All right,
of
I'll
two.
let you go off on it.
Well, see, I thought of this. The predating the rule of 2 thing came from the Rise of Skywalker novelization.
Yep, that's right.
Just like all those other little tidbits of things we talked about. But the first dyad is Rise of Skywalker, Palpatine starting to suck Rey and Kylo Ren's Force energies, and he's like super stoked because he realizes a dyad in the Force.
Ooh, a dyad.
Yeah, he gets like
Dyad.
he's like licking his chops.
He's like, yes.
He's like
This is
so
what we want.
excited that a dyad exists, and he says, a power not seen in a millennia, or whatever he says, and generations, right? So I want the story of the first dyad, and kind of the way that I think it would go down if I was the one executive producing this stuff would be that the dyad is two Jedi Knights, male and female, obviously, probably humans, who are just Jedi Knights. They just kind of know each other in the academy, right? Mm-hmm. And so you get the flavor of almost Harry Potter, like Jedi Academy School.
Yeah, it's a school movie. Yep.
Yeah, it starts out as a school movie, and then the two Jedi Knights are like super powerful, and they connect to each other, and they go on adventures together, and they're kind of like, maybe this is a series or several movies, because the two Jedi Knights get to the state where they're like even better than Obi-Wan and Anakin ever were. They're going on adventures together, and they're really really doing fun stuff together. They work well together, and it gets to the point where they're romantically involved with each other. Mm-hmm. And then it's discovered that there's some weird connection between them. And so you get kind of like a flavor of the Jedi Council trying to figure out what the connection is, because this is the first time a dyad has existed, right? And then it gets to the point where they are so powerful that they don't care about what the Jedi Council thinks, and they start doing really funky stuff, like bringing the dead back to life and doing all kinds of things that are against nature.
So the fact that they're a dyad gives them kind of this
The power,
this power, this
of
ridiculous
life
power.
itself.
Yeah, just this cataclysmic power.
And so the Jedi Council's like kind of helpless to stop them, but they're using their power for good at first anyways. And so the Republic like gives them the authority to do whatever they want to do. And it's almost like this is totally my other obsession is X-Men comics, right?
That's right.
So there is a X-Men comic book story arc where the X-Men get the power of the Phoenix, and the power of the Phoenix is to cure diseases and to stop war and to do all these beautiful things. But it gets a little creepy where the life is a little too perfect. And so the dyad is in the same vein where they're making everything too perfect until somebody says something about like free will and like maybe we shouldn't just let two people determine
The age-old question.
Shouldn't let two people determine like how the galaxy is run or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so eventually the Jedi have to take the dyad down, and they successfully take the Jedi down.
And this is an old Republic story in your mind.
It is an old Republic, like an ancient story.
Sure, like a legend
right?
almost, yep.
Yes. And then the dyad is taken down, and that is why the Jedi Council forbids attachment.
Ooh, love it.
The dyad is the reason they forbid attachment, because attachment too closely leads to the dark side, and the dyad is the perfect example of that.
It creates this overly powerful duo.
So this saga will give an explanation for the reason why the Jedi Council does not allow attachment.
That's awesome. I mean, Yeah, it expands on it. I mean, I know originally it was just passion. They forbid passion. It's kind of like a Buddhist ideal. Like Buddhists are encouraged to estrange themselves from their family.
Yeah.
So
They're encouraged to estrange themselves.
yeah. So I guess that was part of the Jedi thing. It's just, that was the whole story of Anakin. Too much passion led to his downfall. So they have this thing over you. So, but I love that. I love having a kind of being an apologist for the problems of the Jedi Order, which led to their downfall in the beginning, but giving it precedent.
I like a mythic fairy tale about why attachment is not a good thing, and I just love when Palpatine pontificates about something
and is right,
and is just delighted by the deliciousness of this power, and I want to see the realization of that power taken to its extremes.
Ooh,
right?
A dyad.
Yeah, exactly.
He was like, yeah, we did it.
He's stoked.
So that body was a clone.
Yes.
So I thought it would have been smarter if the body that Vader had thrown down the mine shaft, the energy shaft, that was the clone. Because have they explained how he made it off the Death Star at all?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think so. So it's like, I don't know. I thought that
I guess you
that
see
should have
the
been the
blue
clone.
light coming up, and maybe that's his spirit traveling or something.
Yeah, I mean his energy, whatever. But I always thought that was weird. I thought the clone should have been the one who died. But the clone in this one is the one who lived.
I do not want the clone to be the one in my favorite
that
moments
Vader,
of Star Wars.
Vader's already undermined. Vader's sacrifices.
I know, but that doesn't sit.
That makes
good.
it worse.
That doesn't sit good with me at all.
All right, I'm gonna take a break. Hang on. All right, we're rolling again. We just finished talking about Vader. Oh my god.
No, we finished talking about the Dyad.
We finished talking about the dyad. Yeah.
The epic of the Dyad.
And how so what I read about the dyad, I kind of mentioned before, but they say that it predated the rule of two, and that was the idea originally of the rule of two, was to try and eventually have the two Sith come together and make a new dyad. That was their ultimate goal.
Yeah, I read a little bit about that too, and how Palpatine wanted to do that with Anakin.
Yeah, he thought he was going to do the dyad thing with Anakin, and then they were going to be just invincible at that point. I guess was the idea.
I guess
it's vague.
it's
it's something that was thrown in there. Right?
Totally fleshed out in the book.
So, in speaking of something that's not totally fleshed out,
so we're at your number 4.
So we're at my number. Oh, I guess we're number 2. These aren't like in order of importance. Honestly, my importance was I started from the beginning. These are getting so. I did as much research as I could. I kind of took this a little too seriously, and I undermined myself trying to come up with these topics.
Well, speaking of things that are not fleshed out, tell me about your next one.
All right. So here's all I got: the origin of humans and space travel. Go.
Okay.
So
do they start on Earth?
That's the no, they don't. If anything, they originated on Coruscant and then ended up on Earth because it is a galaxy long time ago and a galaxy far away. So this is in the past, and it's very far away.
A lot in the past.
So it's even more in the past. It's not just in the past, but it's in a galaxy far, which means thousands of years even past that. I'm not good with astrophysics, but that's good enough. But in my deep diving of all this Wikipedia nonsense, I really thought, you never ask the question, hey, like, what is the origin story of humanity in Star Wars? So we know there's core worlds, and there's a lot of people with English accents, which I guess, if you don't know this, I thought it was kind of funny. People from closer to the core in the Star Wars galaxy, they have this, more sophisticated, this more city slicker accent. This, if you want to call it more Yankee accent.
I don't think
city slicker.
I don't think British people would appreciate being called city slickers.
They're cities, they're urban, whatever you want to call them. They have these British accents. It means they're if you have a British accent in the Star Wars universe, you are from the core worlds. And the further you go out, it gets more of like an American accent. And then when you go even farther out, Basic is the second language. Basic is the English in the Star Wars universe. You end up with Huttonese, or Huts, speaking Hut, whatever. So it gets more wild as you go out farther out. So where did humans come from in Star Wars? What do you think? Originate. And this isn't just Old Republic. This is
Corellia.
That's a possibility. They don't know, right?
It's a fact.
It's a fact. So
because I said so.
I don't know how you fit this into a movie. This would be maybe an abstract kind of.
It's a documentary.
This would be a documentary. So what do we know about humans in the Star Wars world? They like to travel. They go between all these different planets.
They are ubiquitous.
Okay, so what I learned actually, they were not the first to discover hyperspace, as what we think. So they say Corellia, the famous Corellian shipyards, is as far as humanity. Now, what I read may not be, this isn't all connected. This story isn't really written. We only get little tidbits, but they think Corellia is where the humanity is discovered interstellar travel, and then they colonized other worlds. Where there's legends on Coruscant. Some people say that humans originated on Coruscant, and there's this one little comic with, I forgot her name. So Princess Leia and Admiral Captain. What was the girl with the purple hair in The Last Jedi? Everyone hates her.
Admiral Holdo.
So the comic story is Princess Leia and Admiral Holdo, as kids on Coruscant, end up going on some teenage hijinks, and they end up going into the underworld, doing this and that. Well, I don't really remember the details, but they come across a shrine, like an ancient shrine to humans, and it's this very beautiful, kind of almost Greek Roman shrine to humanity, and it's got like almost angelic humans in these flowing robes. It's just very triumphant looking shrine, and they suggested that it was a shrine from the original humans who were originated on Coruscant, and it was never made. It was never straight out stated. It wasn't made definitive. It was just implied that, hey, maybe this was one of the ancient human artifacts. So they were looking for ancient human archaeology. The timeline of Star Wars is so vast that they've lost where humans originated from. And it's just kind of back to legends because they haven't written this stuff yet.
You know what this reminds me of a little bit in a sci-fi type genre is Alien Covenant.
Yeah.
Where the android and the aliens are figuring out that the humans were somehow their predecessors or something.
Or the panspermia idea?
I don't. Okay, elaborate.
So panspermia concept, it's basically that some aliens came and seeded Earth with microorganisms in order to make it become humans. So they like spermazoa, they fertilized Earth, which is a story from one of those Mars, Life on Mars, one of those Mars movies with Val Kilmer, and
with Val Kilmer.
That's all I remember. Is that with Val Kilmer, they find
God bless him.
God bless them. They end up figuring out that these ancient Martians were dying, their planet was dying, so they seeded Earth. And then, so life came from Mars.
I was thinking more along the lines where humans are treated like almost like demigods in this culture that you were describing, right?
Mm-hmm. In a way they were.
So you have a movie where people are discovering why humans are so widespread or something like that.
Well, they kind of imply in what I've read that it was in the human's nature to expand.
I think you got to do this as a documentary.
Yeah, like an episodic documentary, like Planet Earth.
Yeah.
How cool? How cool would that be? Kind of like a Planet Earth vibe, but it's the humans and
in Star Wars. universe.
Yeah. I
It
mean,
would be pretty cool.
so they're coming out with the High Republic, and that's going to be.
Disney Plus has room for that.
I mean,
Right.
you can
For
stick
my-
it on, you can stick it on National Geographic part
Exactly.
Of it, right?
It's not even under Star Wars. It's under Nat Geo. For my $13 a month, I should be allowed to watch the history of humans in the Star Wars universe and just make shit up.
That's what it's all about. Just make sure.
Now
So-
we're selling. Now we're selling.
But did you hear that story about Leia and Admiral Holdo as
No,
kids?
I've
As
never
kids,
heard of
teenagers? That came up on this thing, which I thought was cool.
I've never heard of
That's
it.
a Legends Teenage Hijinks brand story where they think they came across quote unquote the original human shrine. Now, okay, so I'm gonna read out the core worlds here, and we can kind of spitball on this. We're gonna do our best. So,
Okay. Quick question.
yeah,
Should they link humans to our galaxy?
no,
And
I mean,
I
no.
vote no,
They already do,
but it's tempting.
no, it's tempting, but it's too meta.
It is too meta. I used to hate that. Like, back in the day, there was a website, I think it was StarWars.net, and they had a whole timeline of the whole Star Wars universe.
Yeah,
And it was all the Legends timeline. But at the very end of the timeline, it was basically like people from our galaxy found the records of the Star Wars galaxy. And that's why we know all this stuff. Like, the history of the galaxy far, far away ended up in the Milky Way galaxy.
mm-hmm.
And that
Like
was
they're-
on the timeline.
Their Voyager came to us. Yeah,
And I hated it. I was like, no.
it's bizarre.
I don't want any Milky Way in my galaxy far, far away.
Don't milk up my galaxy.
Don't milk it up.
Don't you dare. That would imply the Force exists in our right now, with us, right? Which is
Maybe it doesn't travel to the Milky Way.
pretty wild. Well, they talk. Clone Wars. Some people may think Clone Wars kind of adulterated the idea of the Force or expanded on it. So you can get into the whole midichlorians controversy, right? Originally, in the original Star Wars trilogy, the Force was something you could earn. It was some mystical thing with the amount of training you could earn. And then we got to the prequel trilogy. It became something you're born with genetically, something biological. It's in your bloodstream. And then it became just, you don't have to train anything. You can just download, in the sequel trilogy, you could just download it from someone's mind and you're an expert at everything.
Yes.
So it just got worse and worse and worse. All from my single best Star Wars moment, which is Yoda describing the Force. Life creates it, makes it grow. It's in between all of us, in between all things and mass. And it's just this beautiful thing. And we talks about life after death. So I'm getting a little crazy here, but so I looked up the core worlds. And this is a very speculative movie. This is a spec sheet. This is like an outline of what could be a movie or a series of movies.
It's a documentary.
It's a documentary. I'm just gonna list the core worlds. We got Alderaan.
Okay.
We got Brenthal 4. Never heard of it.
You're totally like.
I'm killing this thing. I'm just murdering this thing. It's
You're listing Star Wars Wikipedia facts.
I'm all over Wikipedia right now. These are facts, by the way. It's funny. They list these core worlds, but the only ones I recognize are Coruscant and Alderaan. But they're cool names. So we got Alderaan, Brenthal 4, Kamos, Chandrilla, which I've heard, Corellia, I recognize that one, Kurulag, Coruscant, Dowoot, Duro, Euphornis Major, Ganthal, Hosnian Prime, Anaxis, Quat, Plexus, Raltier, Tangenine, Landscarpo, and Tinel 4. A lot of fours. They love 4. Yavin 4.
I like 4.
I like-
nice.
I like
It's a nice number.
You know what I realize? I like numbers that end with 7. Like I like 47, 27, 17.
Prime numbers. They're
Are they?
I mean, no, probably not all of them.
There's 7 numbers. That's the technical term for them. Okay. So documentary about humanity in the galaxy far, far away. Their history, their culture, their origins.
I just think it's interesting that they expand on the origins of other aliens because it's maybe easier, but it's
But
kind of
that's
meta.
not what you presented. It was all about humanity.
Right? No, that's what I'm getting at. Like, but it's kind of obscure and meta. The most obscure species in Star Wars is humanity.
No. It's the most common species.
No, it's the most common species that's everywhere, but it's the most obscure in a fleshed out history, a fleshed out like where it comes from. You know, like they assume Coruscant is the home world, and Coruscant does have a bit of a story to it, but it started off Earth-like. They do kind of hint that it was an Earth-like planet, and then and that humanity actually, at least in what I read, that humanity was not originally, or humanity did not come up with hyperdrive technology. They were enslaved by this other alien race, which I can't find what the name is. But an alien race came to Coruscant, enslaved a humanity that was presumably already there, and eventually they grew too large, and whatever it was, kind of maybe of a Roman Empire thing, and they collapsed, and humanity inherited their technology, and then humanity used that technology to colonize the rest of the galaxy.
That sounds like ancient aliens.
Yeah, it's literally ancient aliens. It's ancient fictional aliens, but it's literally ancient aliens.
Ancient fictional alien documentary.
So I guess we could parse this insane thing I brought up to the High Republic.
That is not the same.
No, so this is what's weird.
Don't take your insane fake human documentary and stick it in the High Republic era.
I'm already trying to destroy the
Which
High
is
Republic in its crib.
Which is a stand-up project.
Is it though? We hope so.
We hope so.
So they're playing it safe because, you know, we talked about this before, but the High Republic's not. We're not getting a High Republic movie. We're not getting a High Republic TV show. We're getting High Republic comic books. And then if people lash out against it online,
I mean, I asked you if you were excited, and you were excited last time I asked you, and you asked me back, and I said, "There's no movies."
Mm-hmm. And then I said they're playing it safe because the sequel trilogy.
And you said they would make movies if it was popular, which I agree with you. But I don't know. All right, so
the thing about the High Republic though,
it's not the origin of humanity.
No, it's not. It's only 300 years in the past. But what's kind
which
of
is perfect for a contemporary, but not ancient Jedi temple.
Yeah, it's the galaxy in the height of its money. You know, it's opulence. It's the galaxy in the height of its opulence. But what people find controversial about the High Republic, at least from what I read, was that it talks about the galaxy expanding into getting other worlds under its wing, which you would assume that's been thousands of years in the making. The galaxy's been expanding. That would take a long time. But then the High Republic is suggesting it's only taken 300, 400 years.
Nah,
for
I
the
don't
galaxy.
buy that.
So under them, I guess what they're hinting at is that Coruscant was the core area of the Galactic Republic.
It does not take 300 years to expand to that many planets in the galactic
It
Senate.
should be thousands of years.
It should be thousands, but I don't think that's really. I think you're assuming what it's about.
Yeah, I mean they have they say they're trying to do these Arthurian legends, so it's going to be a very, you know, clan.
All right, I'm doing my number one.
All right, what's your number one?
My number one is the dawn of the Jedi Knights and the birth of the Sith. But I have kind of like, I think, a unique way of doing it. and I don't think it's been described, like the actual birthing of the Jedi religion and the break off of the Sith. I think there's a Legends version of that. I don't think there's a canon version yet. But the way I would have it go down is that you have a ancient Jedi temple world, right?
Which they don't say which one is the first, right?
They probably
we touched on
it
that a
should
bit
probably
earlier.
be a brand new one, so
Yeah,
that
it would
it's
be.
yet another one in the line of Jedi ancient.
I
Jedi
like that
temple.
though. It is kind of like the human thing. We don't, it's not. It's
Yeah,
who knows,
right. No, I get it. Okay, yeah. So it would be a
Mystery
brand
is the
new one.
fuel of imagination.
Because I would not want the movie or the series set on Octo because I feel like it's a little boring, or
It would
or
have
Jeddah
to be.
because it's a desert planet. You know,
It would have to be a new thing.
I don't want a desert planet. I don't want Octo. I want a new planet, right? But this new planet is where the Jedi religion is starting, and it's all about connecting to the Force. And the galaxy's in a state where the galaxy does have space travel. It's not like so predated where planets can't talk to each other.
They're not. Yeah, that's not a thing.
That's never going to happen.
That's never.
I mean,
gonna
maybe in your documentary.
I mean, I would like it to place over thousands of years where
Yeah.
we can kind of get a vibe of planet. This. Never. I'm out of my mind.
But so the way the Jedi religion is growing, and it's growing from one particular planet's source. Okay? And so, like, the galactic family, various alien species, are losing their own family members to the Jedi. Willingly. They're not, like, conscripting younglings yet.
They're kind of kidnapping the babies.
No, they're not yet. People are leaving their families willingly to go
Join
to
this
this
religion.
Jedi planet to learn the ways of the Force. Sort of like going back to the original trilogy concept where anybody can learn the Force, right? Mm-hmm. So the Jedi are off on their own on their planet. A lot of people are leaving their families to go to that planet to learn the ways of the Force. And it gets to the point where the Republic is starting off too. And the Republic gets in a confrontation with the Jedi, almost like we're expanding and the Jedi are an obstacle of that expansion because their religion's so influential. And so it gets to the point where the other worlds that are part of the Republic start to fear the influence that the Jedi have. So now we go back to my other love as well, which is the X-Men, right? So the Republic is like the humans in the X-Men universe, where they fear what they do not understand. They fear this powerful group of religious zealots that have this strange power to manipulate things.
Which
and
is touched on in the movies for sure.
They are. It is touched on a little
People are
bit.
very afraid of Force users.
But would flesh it out even more, where the Republic is so afraid of the Jedi that they maybe start to try to attack the Jedi. Mm-hmm. And so from that, you have two different schools of Jedi. Just like in X-Men, you have two different schools of mutants, where you have one school who says, we're good people, we need to use the power that we have to help the galaxy as a whole, and eventually they become the Jedi. And then you have another school who says, how dare they fear us? We have this power, and we should subjugate other people.
We're the next step of evolution.
We're the next people, and they become the Sith. And to hammer it home even further, you would have two best friends, Professor X and Magneto, analogs.
Who represent those two different schools of thought.
Correct.
All put into
And
one
so
person.
you would have like basically an explanation of why the Jedi sided with the Republic and decided to defend the Republic as basically a way of them showing them that they're there to help the galaxy, not harm it. And the Sith are the exact opposite.
So kind of the origins of how the Jedi ended up becoming the protectors of the Republic without an army, but kind of these basically the UN for the Republic.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I think that's done in some other like stories and stuff. But I would tie it to the Sith too. Like you basically have one religion that splits off into two because of the way they deal with the fear of the Republic.
So that is true, isn't it?
I don't know. I just made it up. It might be true.
No, it kind of. I mean, so I vaguely know much about this, but so in that game, the Jedi Order, you explore this planet. I forget the planet, but the Zeppo. The Zeppo were one of these original Force. They called it the Wind, the Sacred Wind.
Okay.
And they're an alien species that you see, but you explore their temple, and they built these edifices to honor the Force. Everything they did, it was a religion through and through. It was not about superpowers and jumping high and all this stuff. It was everything they did was in glory to the Force, and they called it their sacred wind. And there's a dark version of that, the Night Sisters, right, with Savage Opress. Like they call them witches, but they really are just Force users. I mean, you're not having magic along with the Force, and like. They're all just different types of Force users. The Jedi is like the Catholic Church of the Force users. And the Sith it would be a schism of that. And I know in the Knights of the Old Republic, before the Rule of Two, they have that whole story, which that would be a cool movie. But I wish I knew more about it. I always consider it kind of an analog to Alexander the Great, where this guy was just good at everything, and he took over with Darth Revan, but. There were a lot of Sith and a lot of Jedi, and they just, fought each other in these epic battles. And it was just this turned up version of Star Wars to the max.
I think we're going to get that one day where we have Jedi battles versus full-on Sith battles. But this concept isn't even that.
Before that.
It's basically why was there a schism between the two ideas of thought. And I thought it was a unique thing to have the Republic be the reason for the Jedi to split up.
That'd be awesome. Yeah,
One section thinks they should rule the galaxy, and the other section thinks they should serve the galaxy.
In a way, in the prequels with Dooku as a separatist, that was kind of what he was doing, because they kind of vaguely, Dooku wasn't really a Sith, was he? Like they talk about that because remember they say he
calls himself a Sith.
I guess he does, but and in a way, yeah, he was Palpatine's apprentice. But Dooku's, they say, wasn't it Mace Windu? He's like he's an idealist, not a murderer, right? That was their idea.
No, that was Kia Diamundi.
Oh, he's always wrong about everything.
Just the worst kind of person.
Kia Diamundi's just he's the source of all ignorance in the Jedi.
He truly is.
Oh boy.
Death to Mundi.
Death to Mundi. Well, you got your wish. I guess there had to be a fall guy. There always needs to be a fall guy. Man, the Old Republic, people are. I wish I have not played those games yet. I can't get a hold of that game. I don't know how to use ROMs or get an Xbox. But, I mean, it was kind of like the Roman. It's all based off the Roman Empire and all this stuff.
Well, I mean, I'm very fascinated by the idea of ordinary people being afraid of Force users. Because why wouldn't you?
They
Like
It's this alien.
That's scary as shit that these weird things can make they make objects float, and they have these lightsabers, and you could shoot at them but they block it and all this stuff because they're super fast reflexes. And I would feel like if I was a politician in the Republic along the same lines of Sidious, I would use that fear for power, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would feel like in this particular series, you would have some politicians who are using the fear of the Jedi, who are getting, it's almost like hippies, where family units are being torn apart because their younglings are leaving their family to go join this new Jedi.
Join this cult.
Yeah, the cult. And
telekinesis cult.
So that, on top of the fact that they have these superpowers, on top of the fact that you have politicians who would exploit that kind of thing, could be a very interesting environment for a series.
So that would be not the Old Republic, but the first. No, not the Old Order, but like the first Jedi Order. Like, it's kind of corny, but
I think you would call the
Jedi, wasn't it?
Yes,
the Jedi.
And I hate saying that because it is corny.
Yeah.
But you would have a religion name that's not Jedi or Sith, and then it splits off into two. But my spin on it is because of the Republic and the social issues of the Jedi, or whatever you want to call it, connecting to the Jedi, to the Republic. But so that's my number one.
So that is a good number one. That was I was considering kind of throwing that in there. I guess I don't know. I don't know where I went with that. Like I thought I was more interested. I ended up kind of deciding that Luke's Jedi Order, his new Jedi Order, was more interesting because I felt that was something that was missing in what we've already have.
Well, let me maybe go.
I was
back
afraid to go
and
into the
clarify
old Republic a little bit because it's
that,
all so
again
open.
If I had the checkbook for Lucasfilm and I didn't care about whether it would be successful or not, I would write the check for the Luke Skywalker Disney Plus series. That is the one I would pick out of all these.
Over Vader? Over the Vader series?
Yes.
You're making a risk there.
No, I don't care if it succeeds. I just want to watch it.
Yeah, I want to watch. Dude, like, we missed out on Luke, man. Like we missed out on his whole heyday because it was all about his coming to power.
Looking at this from like what I really, really want would be Luke first, and then I think it would be the Dawn of the Jedi, the one I just described, and then it would be the Dyad, and then it would be Darth Vader versus Maul, and then after that it would be the plight of Rey's parents. Especially since Rise of Skywalker massacred my boy. The novelization massacred my boy.
Oh, they really did, man. Like, it's bizarre. Like, I guess we're doing full circle here, but man, they just don't want Palpatine having sex. They can't have it. Like, nothing. Walt Disney won't allow it.
And I say, let it be, man. Let him have some sex.
Man, isn't that the story of the prequel trilogy too? Like, if Anakin just get it without judgment.
Well, he did get judgment.
He did get judgment, that's what caused this whole thing.
He got some Yoda size and Mace Windu glares.
Oh man. Well, they expanded on that a bit, like how Mace Windu and Yoda saw his future. It wasn't, they knew it was gonna happen.
Do you got one more left?
So I'm afraid to get into it. So here's what I phoned this in completely. Let's just be honest.
You phoned a friend?
No, I phoned this in. I said, This is just. So what I have written down on my paper is I wanted them to make a Yoda movie. I wanted to, but there's nothing. I can't talk about that because George Lucas decided we're not gonna expand upon Yoda. So there's nothing we're gonna really talk about. But
I disagree full-heartedly, anyways.
so here's all we know, like quick. But there's something I want better than that. There's they say Yoda. This is not canon now, but Yoda and a human. They were from this outer rim. They were traveling towards Coruscant to get work. They were poor. They wanted to get jobs, and then their ship died, and then they ended up crash landing on this Dagobah-like planet, and they met something Del Gormo, and they had a competition to design an alien, like an open
the director, Guillermo del Toro or something.
No, Del Gormo.
Oh.
And he's a really cool. You should, if you're listening.
He did Pan's Labyrinth, right?
Yeah, he did Pan's Labyrinth. Look up this character. It's a cool picture. They did an open kind of contest for artists.
I've seen the picture.
So yeah,
you've shown it to me.
Yeah,
before.
so they did an open contest for artists to design a character for Yoda's master. And the vague story that they've redacted.
It's like an insectoid type character, right?
It's like a big snake with 4 arms.
Sort of like a Geonosian.
No. And then with a staff. And the staff's got a crystal on the top of it, so maybe like a kyber crystal. And it's wisdom, it's this very wise thing. And what's interesting is they leave it open for a human to be involved with, like a human Yoda out there. It's Yoda and a human friend.
That's interesting.
Together, but the human doesn't have a name. We don't know anything. All we know is that Yoda and this human are Force sensitive.
I feel like it would be cooler if Yoda's master was a doofus.
Okay, kind of throwback to Empire.
No, that like Yoda was just totally like bored with his master, and he had to he outgrew his master very quickly. Because he was unceremoniously assigned to some doofus Jedi Master, and he knew way more than him from the very beginning.
Kind of like almost a reflection of Anakin's struggles.
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
Anakin's this ultra powerful guy, and I in my research for I got myself down to 3 number ones with this. It was really bad. Because I ended up getting there's stuff about Anakin too. Anakin's favorite Jedi. I saw this video about Anakin's favorite Jedi, and it was this Jedi who wanted to who saw the potential in Anakin, and he went overboard and tried to teach him things that were beyond his level. And to Obi-Wan's dismay, he was going to teach him Force meld, mind meld. I don't know the details of what that is, but it's this advanced Force technique, and he was trying to teach Anakin this, and Obi-Wan's just like. He's a kid. You can't teach him this level 5 stuff. Like, you're out of your mind. Like, he's powerful, but we got to keep him in check. And which is part of, he's holding me back. Part of Anakin's anger and all that stuff. Like, I could even just redact everything I'm saying. Maybe I want an Anakin movie.
Well, I will say this, that I considered putting an Anakin and Padme movie on here.
Nah.
Well, I know that's the response I would expect.
No, we want an Anakin kicking ass and taking names movie.
But I want them together, kicking ass and taking names. I had that one little snippet of her shooting in the Geonosian arena,
yeah,
and him blocking blocking blaster bolts, and him saying, she says. You call this, or he says, you call this a peaceful solution, and she calls this, no, it's an aggressive negotiation. That little banter there.
It was hot.
I want some sexy.
You just want more Natalie, bro.
You calls them like you see them. I want more Natalie.
Just a Padme full miniseries.
All right. So be it. I want more Natalie Portman.
Don't we all? Man, so my last one, I jumped between almost to kind of get it all into one thing. I had Yoda written down. Yoda also ran this Jedi school that was a ship. It was a mobile Jedi school. We don't know much about it, and it's all been redacted, but he was training. He opened his own personal Jedi school, and then he eventually got part of the Jedi Order, but he was kind of a maverick in the beginning. But that original story was kind of cool. I don't know who wrote it, and it's not canon, but he's poor, he's got a human friend, They crash land. They get trained by Del Gormo, whatever. And this cool mystical creature without a light. I don't think with a lightsaber. He had that staff with a kyber crystal, training them, and then their signal goes out. They get picked up. Their distress signal, and then they go to Coruscant, and then, then the legend is born. Like Yoda joins the Jedi Temple, and he rises to the rank of Grandmaster and becomes Yoda. That was really all that was. With Anakin, Anakin was found by Qui-Gon, and Qui-Gon was killed. But Qui-Gon followed the will of the Force. Qui-Gon was a maverick. He was not going to listen to the Jedi Council. And this is another kind of thing I wanted to talk about. Qui-Gon was inspired by Master Fei, which is another thing from the comics, which was this I'm going to go quickly on this. So it was this ageless blonde woman who was a Jedi, who was so noble and so pure that she did not carry a lightsaber. And she lived hundreds of years, but looked young, and she only followed the will of the Force. She did not care about what the Jedi Order was saying. She only followed the will of the Force. And that led her to eventually sacrificing herself.
She is played by Scarlett Johansson.
No, there's better. Like, there's someone better. I don't know. It's a good contender. It's a good contender, but I imagine really no human can compare
to Master Fei.
To the abstract of what Master Fei is. It's like something that can't even.
What about like
Michelle
Williams?
Who?
Michelle Williams.
I don't know who's that. I don't even know who that is.
Dawson's Creek.
Just insert attractive blonde actress here. I don't know. Like you can get a middle-aged Jennifer Lawrence in there. I don't know, but just like an extrapolate.
Yeah, actually, Michelle Williams would be a perfect Master Fei from the. That's Michelle Williams.
Yeah, no, you're right. That is perfect. No, that's perfect. So it's just the idea of these really pure Jedi. Everyone gets on. With what they see in the movies, they see the Jedi kind of screwing up, being really dogmatic, and being very Sith-like almost, like being all or nothing, black and white on what it is.
Absolutes.
They really do deal in absolutes, and they led to Anakin's downfall for that, and they got what they deserved, in my opinion. I'm sounding like a Sith now, but that's why I like Qui-Gon so much, because he followed the will of the Force. He was a true religious zealot. He didn't care about the dogma of the Order, and he got that from Master Fei, and Master Fei ended up paying the ultimate price for it. She ended up dying, preventing this plague that would have killed millions upon millions of people, therefore hurting the Force. The Force is created by life, so the more life there is, the more Force there is, so you would expect the will of the Force to protect life. Thus is the good side of the Force. And that's the Master Fei thing, and it's good. If we can just tie all that into one super movie, we can get Marvel in there. We can get,
You want me to call Michelle Williams?
Call her up. Kathleen's listening. She knows. She's got her number on speed dial. And they say they're going to start getting these more famous people in Star Wars, even though the legacy of Star Wars is finding new actors. But all the rumors about Keanu Reeves becoming a Star Wars character.
Right.
They added Woody Harrelson in there. They got all these people in there.
All right. So one last question. Out of all the things we've talked about, what do you think is the most likely to actually be produced?
I'm torn between the Vader and the Luke. Of course. I mean, it's obvious.
Do you think they will
Probably
not do those specifically? Okay, first question.
They'll probably tie it into other things.
Do you think they will not do that, either of those, specifically because they just hate Star Wars fans and they don't want to give us what we want?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Follow-up question.
Okay. Well, let me add to that. They tried to create something new for the next generation. So they wanted to create a whole new generation of fans, and in doing that, they alienated their new fans. Well, let me tell you what, that happens with every franchise. The franchise lasts forever in a frozen time space, but the fans age and have their ideas change. And you can't expect a franchise to keep up with their fan base. It never happens. It's the same with Pokemon. Like Ash Ketchum is 10 years old. Will be 10 years old forever. You outgrow Pokemon and you move on. Now with Star Wars, they're trying. They were trying to have their cake and eat it too. They were trying to give it to a new generation, but have some fan service, have some Easter eggs thrown in there to throw it back to the end. I think they fell short with that. I think they should have committed to one or the other.
Yeah, I could see what you're saying. They
But
should have.
I'm not. Yeah, it's okay. Like most of Star Wars happens in my imagination anyway. I don't expect them to actually execute what I want.
Okay, so follow-up question. Do you think their commitment, their stated public commitment to getting away from the Skywalker saga, will prevent the production of either a Darth Vader project or a Luke Skywalker project?
It's a good point. Yes, it will. 100%.
So do you think we'll actually get either of those?
I don't think we'll actually get a Luke or a Vader series, but what it seems like is, which is what they should have done originally, which I think is how it's gone. There's going to be a Star Wars for the new fans and a Star Wars for the old fans. And the Star Wars for the old fans is The Mandalorian. The Star Wars for the new fans is the sequel trilogy. But the sequel trilogy, like I just said, they tried to have both. But I think now they're realizing there's a divergence there, and they might just keep these things separate. I think if they're smart.
I think that's why I'm optimistic that we might get Luke Skywalker and Mandalorian. As part of that.
They're doing they're doing an Obi-Wan series. We know that. So that's gonna be really interesting. It's gonna be strange because you can't just have Obi-Wan wandering around in the desert for a whole series. Like he's gonna come into contact with some main characters.
We may get Darth Maul or Darth Vader in the Obi-Wan series.
Yeah.
So we might be getting both projects we're pining for, but disguised in other series.
I agree. Yeah, I think they're just gonna have like a Luke Easter egg or a Vader Easter egg here and there. They're not gonna dedicate a whole series to these things.
And if they do that shit right, man.
Oh man, people are gonna go nuts. They're gonna go nuts.
Mwah!
It's gonna be just maybe that's how it should be. You can't have too much of a good thing.
That's fine. As
long
as they give me a little bit more than what they are willing to give up lately.
All right. Well, that's the whole thing. They're playing good cop and bad cop.
Kathy's got me on first base. I need to be on third base. Maybe not a home run.
Well, you got to earn it as a fan.
I need to get on third base with Kathy.
We're demonetized. I think our predictions might hold true. They're gonna have a little bit of Vader, a little bit of Luke, kind of peppered out, but they won't commit to a full. They won't commit to a full series. It's just going to be fan service. Just like everyone thought with the Mandalorian, there wasn't going to be any Force users in that, and now it turns out it's going to be. They're going to extrapolate on Force users, maybe a lot. There's going to be Jedi in the new series, in the season 2, allegedly. They're going to try and find Yoda, give Yoda back to his people. We don't,
Jon Favreau, please give it to me.
Can't burn him out though. Can't burn. That guy might do Star Wars for the rest of his life. At this point, he did too well.
He loves Star Wars though.
He does. Yeah, I don't know much about Jon Favreau. I know Dave Filoni's like that guy. It's all good.
Well, so this has been episode 2.
Episode 2 of Bede.
Fode and Bede.
Fode and Bede.
Talk Star Wars. Fode and Bede.
That's
Talk Star
right.
Wars.
We haven't agreed on that yet.
It's official. Fode and Bede Talk Star Wars. I'm Fode.
Right. If people actually listen to this, go in the comments and say if you knew offhand who Fode and Bede was. If you did, then you're into this way more than you should be.
If you've listened to us for 2.5 hours twice.
True.
God bless you.
God bless you.
Fode and Bede, out.
Out. Goodbye.